Good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 11th day of Nisan. And this year, Tafshin Pei Bay's 5782. This is the 120th birthday of the Rebbe. The Rebbe was born 1902 in Nikolaev, in Ukraine. And the world would not be the same if not for this day. The Rebbe, in general, the Rebbe in today's Yom Yom, the Rebbe explains that on a birthday, a person needs to meditate about what he's doing and to fix what he needs to do. And in general, the Rebbe mentioned many times when he encouraged people to celebrate the birthdays, and he explained that on a birthday, this is when Hashem says that I need you, that you are needed here in his world. And this fits in very well with the Tanya that we're learning today and yesterday. The Alter Rebbe talks about the most important meditation. And the meditation that this is the foundation. He calls it the core and foundation, the foundation of the divine service. And we explained yesterday, he calls it the root, the ikar of Shorasha, the core and the root. There's actually a difference between the roots and foundation. You know, in foundation, they have a foundation of a building in order for the building to stand. But not every part of the building is really dependent on the foundation. The first floor, for example, doesn't need the foundation so much like the 10th floor. The first floor can stand without a foundation also. But when we're talking about the root, the way the Alter Rebbe calls this meditation, that the root of this divine service, a root is something that every part of the tree is dependent on the root. Even the little leaf gets its nourishment from the root. And the same thing, this meditation about the greatness of Hashem and how Hashem, God, is so great, and he fills all the worlds, he surrounds, encompasses all the worlds. There is the high spiritual worlds, the lower worlds, and everything. Hashem says, this is not important for me. What is important? The Jewish people. This world. Hashem puts his kingship on the Jewish people. But then he goes further and says, not only that, but on each individual separately. That each individual must say that the world was created for me. This, says the Alter Rebbe, this is something that we should constantly have in mind. That we are here to serve Hashem. The awe of Hashem should always be in every part and every step of our lives. So the Alter Rebbe continues in today's lesson, which is a short lesson. He continues how this should be really something we think before every time we do a mitzvah, before every time we study Torah. We should have this thought in mind, that Hashem is here and Hashem watches us. And he watches us because he cares. You could think, who am I to matter to God, the great God? I'm just a little one, nothing. In this world with billions of creatures and billions of people and so many endless creatures in this world, and yet, yes, Hashem says, what you do right here in Brooklyn today matters. So this is, let's see what the Alter Rebbe says this inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, ve'inei yavaye nitzav olav u'meloi kol ha'ortz kevoidoi u'mabit olav u'boichen kloyes v'leiv im oivdoi karoi. And behold, God himself stands over him, and the whole world full only with his glory. And not only being omnipresent does he see everything, but moreover, he scrutinizes him in particular. Hashem cares in particular what the person does and searches his reins and heart, meaning his innermost thoughts and emotions, to see if he's serving him as is fitting. So this is actually this part of the Tanya. The Rebbe also instituted this, that we should teach it to the children. As you may know, the Rebbe asked, he gave 12 different verses from the Torah, from the sages, that 12 verses that children should memorize and to have, to say it, to repeat it constantly. Every occasion when children get together, they memorize these 12 verses. And this sentence from the Tanya is one of those verses. Ve'inei Hashem nitzav alav u'maloi kol ha'aretz kevoidoi u'mabit alav. Hashem is standing upon him, fills the entire world is glory. Mabit alav, Hashem looks at him, watches him, scrutinizes him. And he searches the reins and the heart, the inside, to see the innermost thoughts and emotions, to see if he's serving him as fit. Continues the Alter Rebbe and says, "Ve'al keinen, therefore, tzarich lavod lefanav be'emo ve'ira ka'omed lifnei hamelech." Therefore, he must serve in his presence with awe and fear, like one standing before the king. And the Rebbe points out, what does it mean, like one standing before the king? It means that not only like one who is standing in the presence of the king, meaning in the king's domain. You don't act the same way when you act if you're outside in a faraway city from the capital. You don't feel the presence of the king so much. When you come to the capital, when you come to the king's city, you feel more the presence of the king. But here it says that's not enough. You have to have in mind, picture in mind, that you're standing not only in the king's city, but you're actually standing in the palace right there in front of the king. Because that's exactly what it is. Hashem is here every moment, wherever you are, Hashem is here watching you. And watching you means that Hashem cares for what you do. He wants you. Hashem wants us. Continues the Alter Rebbe and says, "V'yamik b'machshava zu, v'yarich bo k'fi choles asogas meichoi u'machshavtei." One must meditate profoundly and at length on this concept, according to the capacity of apprehension of his brain, u'k'fi apnai shaloi, and of his brain and thought, and also at the time that is available to devote this contemplation, this time being. What is this time? When is the proper time to do so? Every time, but especially, says the Alter Rebbe, before you study Torah, before you do a mitzvah, you should have this thought in mind. Lifnei eisek haTorah, mitzvah, before he engages in study of Torah, or before he performs the performance of a commandment. For example, says the Alter Rebbe, such as before putting on his talis and tefillin. That's how you serve Hashem with awe. This is the most important contemplation and meditation. You can see, this is why you see sometimes people, they go to shul, you see people will have the talis on, even before they put on the talis, they have the talis on the shoulder, and they're thinking, especially if you go to Lubavitch shuls, people that learn Hasidus, you'll see that the meditation, the thinking. This is the proper thing to do. before anytime you do, every time before you do a mitzvah. And that is, it doesn't matter for men, for women. Before you light the Shabbos candles, also you should have this meditation. And this is the end of today's shir. And on this very special day, we went last night to the oil. We celebrated the Rebbe's birthday. We brought the Rebbe so many gifts of people that gave a list of people, many people that gave mitzvahs, dedicated mitzvahs to do more mitzvahs. The campaign of mitzvahs goes on to add more and more mitzvahs, because as the Rebbe says, that's the most important thing, to do the mitzvah, because this is what brings Hashem's light into this world, and this is what will bring Mashiach. But thank you so much for joining. Mitzvah Hashem. We shall continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. All the best. Any questions?